Good morning, good afternoon, LinkedIn friends, HubSpot Nation. Welcome to another episode of Let's Build the Road to Inbound 2025. Here with our fearless correspondent leader, Gabby. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's Friday. It's end of month, so it's been a busy week. I'm sure a lot of y'all can relate to that, but the weekend is almost here, so I'm feeling good. How about you?
I'm feeling good too. Yeah, a lot of transition moments. We got end of week, end of month, end of quarter. The week of rest
Yes.
is next week, the 4th of July. We're already halfway through 2025.
That's crazy.
Inbound is 2 months and 1 week away already.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It snuck up on us. I've shared this before, but at HubSpot, it feels like as soon as we get back from one inbound, we're already planning for the next one. So I've had inbound in my orbit since September last year when I got back. But so I'm particularly excited to be in the like 60-day out stretch because I'm like, okay, now we can get like really amped, really excited, start making our plans now that the agenda is live. So I'm like, okay, it's happening. It's really happening.
Yeah.
Hopefully everyone else is feeling that excited too.
Well, uh, definitely some correspondence I talked to. But like most things HubSpot, it's like, you get the super users and the people that are going, and then but a lot of people doing like their daytime job, and it's hard to keep up. So
Yeah.
that's why we're here doing shows like this. But I'd love to hear. You mentioned every year it feels like we're planning like right away after the. I'd love to hear what was different and maybe what was the same, because this year is the first time it's not in Boston, right? And it felt
Yeah.
like I started seeing LinkedIn ads a little bit sooner. But I'd love to hear like what maybe changed and what stayed the same as far as the team's outlook and process as it relates to being all the way on the other side of the country.
Yeah, it's new for all of us. And so I think, we're all humans. So there is that element of fear of the unknown, maybe is a good way to describe it. Like, what should I expect? How is this going to change? Am I going to see my same champions? Because, some people with the location change, it's not as easy to access as Boston was. And that's relatable. But I think there's also this excitement about that uncharted or new territory. We do have a HubSpot office in San Francisco. It's obviously not as big or high traffic as our headquarters in Cambridge or any of our regional offices like in Dublin or Berlin. But we do have a presence there. And so I think in this age of AI, and also just as HubSpot as a company, we celebrated our 19th birthday earlier this month. If you did not know that, we've matured and we've expanded. And so we have a population, we serve customers in that APAC region that on the flip side, it's harder for them to get to Boston. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to reach our customers on a coast that is more accessible to them, also tap into that hub that is Silicon Valley, especially with the prevalence of AI. So overall, I think, there's some elements of cautious optimism, but overall, we're just all really excited for the new space. There was a blog on the Inbound blog recently that featured a couple of champions and correspondents. Like, how do you describe Inbound? And I think it was Karen who was saying it's kind of like Christmas and summer camp, like all rolled into one. And I think that's the perfect way to describe it. And so I think overall, everyone is really excited. There's a lot of really intentional planning that goes into inbound. The community teams obviously involved in that, and we work very closely with a team called Global Events who oversee all of our events at HubSpot. So that's inbound, grow. If you were at the Spotlight Live back in April, they produced that event as well. And we uh, take a lot in from the surveys that y'all fill out. I know sometimes it can be survey fatigue or you doubt if your feedback is looked at. Know that it is, and it helps us inform both the success of that previous year that just happened when you filled out that form, but also informs how we move forward, how we iterate, and to provide y'all the best experiences. So I'm very excited. I think y'all will be really happy, but I think it's understandable that it's like, I don't know about San Francisco, and I have big feels about Boston, and I really want to be loyal to Boston. So if that is you, that's totally understandable. Know that we will be back in Boston next year. So this San
Okay.
Francisco experience is going to be limited edition in a way.
Okay. I think that question did come up earlier. Good to know that's already been decided and we can start planning ahead. Uh,
Yes, I don't know the exact date. I think that'll be announced the last day of inbound. I would expect it's going to be in September, like it typically is.
yeah. So for we've been having some like Profoundly's gonna have a booth there and we've been having
Yay!
some planning meetings. And one of the things like I'd love to hear some advice or guidance on is like if you're doing it right and you're showing up and you're trying to get a lot of people doing stuff and excited about, your presence there, it's been easy at the BCEC to know there's the lawn D, there's going to be this space, and we can kind of plan these impromptu meetups and we can tell everybody where to be before we even get to inbound. We've never been to this place. How should we be thinking about that in terms of is is there gonna be spaces like that? And probably like just cutting right to it, like what's gonna replace lawn D?
That's a great question that I don't have the answer to today, Chris. I know that there's a venue called I believe it's called Yerba Buena Gardens that there will be an event at. I don't know if the food court or anything is going to be set up there. I would encourage sponsors or attendees to check out the inbound website because there's always blogs with that information coming out. And I want to say last year that information came out maybe the month prior. So I would stay tuned for that. I've also seen, just because I'm a planner and I get really excited, I haven't been to San Francisco since I was maybe 10 years old. So I am the type, and I'm also the type of person that likes to pack an agenda, which we can talk about how that may not be the best approach for like the conference. But in general, when I'm traveling, I try to maximize my time. And so I've already started looking at like, where are all the venues and what's the distance from the conference center to Fisherman's Wharf and all that stuff to try to figure it out. So for my research, there are quite a lot of options in the like very near vicinity. Our community champions happy hour meetup is an 8-minute flat walk from the venue, which is not far for me, but it's pretty nearby. So even if we don't have a similar facility, there's tons of different events and spaces to meet up. That said, Inbound has introduced the new concept of zones. Am I able to share a screen on this
Yeah. Oh,
platform?
we'd
Okay.
love that.
Let me see. Is it clicking this present? Yeah,
Yep.
share screen. Okay, here we go. Don't show these tips again. Cool. Oh my gosh, and I have so many tabs open. Let me just.
We wouldn't have it any other way.
It's Friday, end of month. Of course, I have multiple tabs open. Okay, can you see my screen?
I will be able to. Do you wanna if I do, it's gonna be us. There we go.
Okay.
All right.
Now you should
So
be looking at the Inbound website now.
there we go.
Cool.
Yes,
Okay,
we
so
are.
there is this blog that was announced talking about the inbound zones. So here you'll see, and I'm not going to read this to everybody, but there are going to be um, just bigger kind of zones that are unified but still distinct enough, if that makes sense. So the first one's going to be your innovation zone. That's going to be, cutting edge tech. The innovation arena is going to be the stage, talking about these boundary pushing topics. So think of that as like really leaning into and embracing Silicon Valley. Then you have the impact zone, which if you were at Inbound last year, even the year before, think of this as the community center like times 10. We saw that the community center was really well received and you guys appreciated having space to just connect. That yes, you got a lot of value out of the amazing speakers and panels and workshops and everything that is on the Inbound agenda, but sometimes those learnings that you get in those hallway meetings and those casual conversations are just as valuable, maybe if not more. So they've launched this impact zone, which is going to facilitate more face-to-face conversations, unified exchanges. I believe this is also where the brain dates are going to be happening. Don't quote me
Okay.
on that, but I believe those are happening there. And then there will also be a stage here, the Impact Theater, where I believe most of the content is going to be centered around customers and customer marketing, customer success, as well as community engagement. So that is today
Awesome.
my favorite of the zones. And then of course,
Yeah.
how could
Well,
we
I think
forget the HubSpot zone? That's going to be all about the new to be released platform updates. So it's going to look a little bit different, but it should like still feel like inbound. Should still feel HubSpotty, if that makes sense.
awesome. Yeah. I think I'm so glad you shared that because, and that's part of the role we have as correspondents, I think. Like we're hearing a lot of AI first stuff from
Yep.
HubSpot as an AI first company and just all around us. So I love the specific section that the human side of progress. We still care about that. We still care about all the humans that are here to use and leverage that AI. But it sounds like that innovation zone. Like if I were to try and predict that there was going to be a humanoid robot there of some sort and like kind of cross the fingers, that might be where it's at. Uh,
It could be. I don't know. I mean, there were droids last year on the Disney stage. If you caught that one, is that what they were called? They were really cute. The little Star Wars guys that
Yeah.
he
And the
brought.
AI summit, that was just in San Francisco. This is where like that was like kind of a test trip for me. And there's like like Fidelity had like uh, uh, a robot bartender there, like during the happy hour,
Also, yeah,
which is cool to see.
I took vacation recently. I was in Korea, which was amazing. I'm desperate to go back. And there were robot baristas there. And I'm not a big coffee drinker, but I was like, okay, yes, I need to try this robot barista. It was so cool. Little fun fact about me, even though I've been in this B2B SaaS space for a little while now, um, in my like personal life, I'm actually kind of a late adopter to tech, and it does kind of, I think I know too much sometimes. I came from the cybersecurity world, and so I
Okay.
think I know too much sometimes. And
That'll put a definite lens over everything coming from
yeah,
there.
but I'm leaning into it now, and a lot of it has to do with one, just being excited about those kind of like silly things that I think tie into community. You find your weird, or you find your niche, and you like find your people that are also weird or also in your niche. Um, and I think it's also just like learning from you all, specifically with AI and leveraging AI, which is a whole nother conversation that we can have around like how do we balance that in community where it needs to stay human. But I've felt a lot more comfortable by watching a lot of the content that all you champions put out. So I was particularly excited about today's opportunity because I watched the videos that you and Casey and George and Nico and Salim and I'm missing a ton of people. There's so many people putting out such great content to stay in the loop, not just on HubSpot's features, which were super helpful when I came back from vacation because so much happened, like the connector with ChatGPT,
Right.
um, but also just in the tech landscape. So just wanted to throw that in there as well. That
Well,
I love
we
all the content that you guys are creating.
well, we appreciate that. And before we started, you mentioned like a lot of times HubSpotters themselves are watching, and I've gotten that vibe and gotten some feedback from the team. And like so maybe you could help the correspondence, like because I think there's a concern that are we just adding to the noise and how can anybody keep up with all this content if I can't like talk a correspondent through like maybe some hesitation to share like, oh, I see all these other people doing it, so then I can't do it. Like what's actually happening from somebody who's on your side? Like you obviously can't keep up with all the content. But when you do see it, it's valuable and valuable enough for you to mention it here. Um, Help somebody get over that fear of just like you got to be yourself. You got to share. Everybody has a story to share, and if we can just do that on the way to inbound or while we're at inbound, like that's enough. Yeah.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head there with like everybody has a story to share, everybody has a voice to share, and maybe you're not a live stream person. You don't have to be because everyone has different learning styles. I'm liking video more now, but I'm mostly visual and I actually do like reading a lot of stuff. I will now use AI to summarize things for me, but I'm so sorry, but I'm not a like podcast person. So I'm sure all of your podcasts are great. It's just not how I personally learn. And so you have to kind of like balance that out, that just because you see someone else doing this, it's like any other competition, right? And I hate saying competition because it's not, but we as humans kind of make it a competition amongst ourselves is what I mean by that. You see someone doing something being perceived very successful in one platform that is not your strength, and so you automatically kind of discount the value that you could be bringing when at the end of the day, like everyone has a value, everyone has a story, everyone has a use case. That's something that we're seeing a lot coming up on like the HubSpot community and even on our HubSpot subreddit is wanting those really specific, like, I want to know in this particular industry or like this very specific use case that you as a practitioner, as an admin, may think that that's just kind of part of your everyday. And because it doesn't have a big, exciting 400% increase in lead gen or whatever that, crazy, shocking number is, that it's not worth it, but it's actually what people want. And as much as I could come out and say this, and we have amazing product team and marketers and so many amazing, smart, talented people here at HubSpot that can say that, you as a customer and you as an advocate or community champion can get that message across better because you don't have that like orange sprocket behind you, which is crazy to think about it that way, but you actually have more trust than you probably realize compared to someone that's got the brand behind them in that way. So I would also say, as far as like the Community Champions program, which if anyone is watching this and they're not part of the Champions program, you should definitely join because we're working on improving even more than we already have today, ways to reward you for the content you're already creating. So whether that is, again, like a video, a social media post, engaging on our Reddit, like we want to reward you for the advocating and for the content and help that you're already providing to the community. So join that because there's so many ways to get involved in the community. There's hugs, there's the academy groups, there's so much more that yes, inbound is kind of the sparkling, shining moment because it's the opportunity to get together live, but there's still 51 other weeks in the year that like things are happening. People need to learn, people need to hear from perspectives, people want to connect with others in the HubSpot community. And when I say HubSpot community, yes, there are our product forums that are called the HubSpot community, but we're also becoming a little less precious, in the words of Evan, about what community is and how it shows up. That could be LinkedIn, that could be Reddit, that could be the in-person meetups that we've been doing, like the one that Chris, you and I were at in Austin. So if it hasn't come through very clearly in my ramble yet, know that your unique insights are wanted, they're asked for, they're in high demand. And so however you want to show up in the community and wherever that community lives for you, just get started. You'll get rewarded for it as a community champion signed up to the program. And if nothing else, you'll just get all the warm and fuzzies for helping someone else that's trying to solve a problem, big or small.
Yeah. I think that this makes sense to share Sarah's comment here. Um, Thinking of AI in general as a way to make room for all this meaningful human to human stuff, right? The people who are getting that already are already seeing like immense gains because now we have time to be on Reddit and to be on LinkedIn and actually participate in community conversations. Um, and the reason I'm here, like, it turns out it makes it real easy to make content and educate other people when you're in those conversations. She also asked a super important question here about your experience with the robot. How were the drinks? Uh,
SJ, they were good. I only got a coffee, which again, I'm not a big coffee drinker. But where I was in Seoul for about a week. Um, they love coffee there. They love Americanos specifically, and I'm more like an iced latte type. But it was great. Definitely an experience that I would recommend, and I'm sure there's some experience like that in San Francisco. If nothing else, SJ, will have to grab a Waymo on our way to or from an event. So
yeah,
very much.
that was maybe my favorite thing about the HubSpot office. I got to go when I went to the AI Summit. I got to check out the new San Francisco office, and they had this
Oh, I didn't realize that. Very
tea.
cool.
They had this machine where you get, I think, coffee or tea, or maybe just tea. I don't care about coffee either. Um, and you could see that like jasmine and peppermint had been that template had been used 7,000 times.
Oh, how
so it
interesting. And that
was
sounds really good. I'm gonna have to try
yeah, it was very
that.
good. And appreciate Sarah and Tracy here watching, hanging out with us. You're not alone, Gabby, in your uh, non-podcast person.
Yeah, Tracy had joined a meetup yesterday that I hosted, so I'm happy to see you over here, Tracy. Hopefully, you're not sick of my voice yet. But yeah, there was a lot of love for Notebook LM in that discussion group, which I feel like is kind of underrated in all the other AI conversations. I think Chat GPT and I hope no one from OpenAI is going to watch this and get upset with
They
me.
won't. They won't.
I'm personally like a late adopter on stuff like that, and it seems like Chat GPT like like got the share early on. It's the brand, it's the Clorox, it's the Coke, it's the
Yeah.
Kleenex of AI, which is a compliment. But I really like Notebook LM. We use it for the inbound correspondence program as our it's twofold. It's for a support bot for inbound correspondence to get program specific questions, as well as to help them with their content curation, because it's got all of the resources in it. So we're using it to help our correspondence as well. That way, like you were saying, Chris, we can focus on our private Slack space as connection and catching up and coordinating events like this, instead of it being, I'm happy to help answer questions, but it's kind of hard
Yeah.
to drive connection when it's just a bunch of questions to
Yeah.
be
Once
right.
you've answered one the 10th time, you're like, all right, maybe there's a better way here. No, that's a great example. But yeah, it's hard. There's just so many AI options. I do think Google has come a long way. And as more people kind of trend that way and have their Google workspace that's like sitting right there, all this AI is there for them. Notebook LLM will get some more run for sure. But what else? Is there anything that you've seen? Maybe it's the proximity of stuff close by, but the fact that it's in San Francisco, has that enabled anything that hasn't really happened before?
Um, oh, that's a good question. I would probably, I don't know if I am the best person to answer that. I think someone on the global events team could probably is a little bit more in the know on that. I think for me, what I'm seeing, which to be totally transparent, kind of threw me off when we initially um, opened up tickets and subsequently the inbound correspondence program. There were some um, long time inbound attendees, regulars that I was expecting to see. And I'm like, hey, like, that's strange. I haven't seen them register yet. On the flip side, there's also a ton of people that I haven't seen in a while, or I haven't had an opportunity to connect with them in person. And so I think for me, specifically in the community space, and this being a rare in-person meetup opportunity. I think it's giving us a chance to connect with, again, like our West Coast customers, our customers that are based in that APAC region. I know there was just the the Grow event in Sydney that a lot of people were able to attend. I wasn't able to attend that, but that was a recent one. And so I'm particularly excited for that, just to connect with a new segment of customers. I think people on this call know this, but the Community Champions program, Inbound Correspondence, those are both global programs, even though HubSpot is headquartered in the US and I happen to sit in the US. I do serve a global population. And so I'm looking forward to having some face-to-face time with some of my program members that I maybe otherwise won't see for, I don't know, the next time we're on the West Coast.
Yeah. Now that access to a new audience, new people, is definitely going to be fun to be a part of. Anything else that, people who are going, or even if they're going to be following along online, that comes to mind when you think might surprise some people, or is going to happen and has been shared maybe through a blog and isn't really being talked about enough yet?
Oh man, loaded question, Chris. I think I just really want to spotlight the work that you guys as inbound correspondents are doing. Like we've been talking a lot in this conversation around like the benefits and power of being there, like on the show floor, those hallway conversations, those meetups. And like, while I still feel like there's so much value and strength and power in that, like the reality is not everyone can attend. And so leaning into the community, that being the inbound correspondents primarily, who are creating content, giving you an inside scoop of the recaps of the sessions. You're getting their unique perspectives of, it's one thing to get a copy of the slide deck. It's another thing to say, like, here's me, a HubSpot admin who's doing this very similar thing that you're doing day to day in a similar or maybe your exact industry. Like, here is my lens on these slides that were presented. I think that is so golden that you may actually, by not being there in person, have the benefit of like being able to process that a little bit quicker too.
Yeah.
Because you're not trying to move from one session
Right.
to the next. So I think that is something, like, again, even though I've been stressing how excited I am for in real life, I think there's still just as much learning. And it's really why we lean so much on you, inbound correspondents, for creating that content, because it's not something we can create. We can live stream the session and we can, send it out into the ether, but you guys putting your own perspectives, connecting with not just your own audiences that you have, built and curated, but the HubSpot community, again, whether that's community proper or Reddit or LinkedIn or wherever it shows up, you guys just add so much more value, and we're so appreciative of it.
Well, we appreciate you making the space for us. I know this is my third year, and I know there's been a lot of talk, and I already would feel that this one's going to be a little bit different in a lot of good ways, and that there's been kind of an expanded focus and at least an awareness that we have a lot of people out in these community spaces doing a lot of great things and sharing expertise, helping each other in the community, in all these individual, experts, consultants, agency partners, HubSpot admins, like all of the people truly representing. And it's going to be fun to participate even at some deeper levels at this year's Inbound, which I'm sure we'll be able to talk about soon enough. And yeah, we appreciate you doing the work to work with the Inbound team to make sure that we can have, the space to share what's going on and actually be like true correspondence, right?
Yes, big shout out to my friends over in global events and all the other teams that we work in. We're big friends and collaborators with Devrel, of course, as well, who always have a big presence at Inbound. But yeah, definitely a big shout out to them. I get so excited every time I see y'all's content on LinkedIn, especially when it gets reposted by the Inbound team or it's featured on the Inbound blog proper. That makes me so excited for you all. And I think it just underscores how much value you all are providing to the community. So keep it up. If you weren't selected as an Inbound correspondent this year, again, Inbound is just 1 week in the entire year. There's still so much happening year round. And there's always new content opportunities, new features launching, things to talk about, and spaces to show up. So even if it's not Inbound correspondent, show up in whatever way sings to you, and it will, I promise you, it'll be so well received and so appreciated by us as well as the HubSpot community at large.
Yes, well said. And on that note, we will continue moving down the road to Inbound 2025 after the week of rest next week. Next Friday is 4th of July. But after that, we'll be back on the show, and we've got some other HubSpotters joining as we move forward. I should probably get better at promoting like these next episodes, but you'll have to stay tuned to understand who's showing up. And if you're a correspondent watching this and want to hang out and help on the journey to Inbound, don't hesitate to reach out, and you can join in for a conversation. Until next time, Gabby, I hope you enjoy your week of rest next week.
Thanks, you too. And I will see y'all very soon at Inbound.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining, and I hope everybody has an amazing weekend. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.